You're listening to 88.7 WLUW Chicago Sound Alliance, broadcasting from the campus of Loyola University. It's live from the Heartland, featuring Michael James, Katy Hogan, and Thom Clark. Today we have 46th Ward Alderman runoff candidate Marianne Lalonde, Irish fiddler and dancer Katy Grennan, and Kelly Demaret and William Smillie, co-producer and lead actor from 30 Miles from Nowhere. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
No more pain, no more fear. I got to make my move, get out of my way.
Yeah.
Irish keb.
We got Kebo Mo.
Kebo mo.
That was great. Welcome to Live from the Heartland. Yet
good
another
morning.
edition of Live from the Heartland on a crisp, sunny, pre-St. Patrick's Day when there's way more traffic coming down here than normal. I just hope those same people aren't driving home later.
That's crawling.
Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Thom.
Good morning, Katy Hogan.
Glad to be here again, aren't we?
We are
so
glad.
tempted by the sun this week. That's that big orb up in the sky.
Yes.
Another day in paradise.
And tempting with 50-degree temps and all that.
I went out.
I'm going to be ready for the later part of March.
Indeed. Someone posted that we are in fake spring, which, last week, which we were. But soon enough.
Take what we get.
Indeed. On today's show, we're going to have the folks that Jake just told you about, but let's start with, unfortunately, the things that made our heads explode this week.
Condolences to Muslims around the world in the wake of the latest white supremacist terrorism in New Zealand. Very sorry to hear that the guy they've caught apparently sees Trump as one of his heroes.
That's right.
So I think we just need to do more than prayers and send out care. We need to
muzzle
this thing around.
himself.
Yeah.
We got to muzzle that sucker.
Unfortunately, there were just a lot of outrages this week. The college admission bribery thing, just audacious avarice, which marks our time. The rich's right to privilege, I guess.
Agreed.
It's not enough that they have enough money to pay for Harvard. They have to bribe their way into it.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
And it's such a sign of our times that people have no real shame, it appears.
Yeah, let's talk about affirmative action, people.
Another sign of our times, though, is
undeserving
the youth.
people getting something?
Yes, right.
Oh, yeah.
Another sign of our times is the youth around the world standing up for climate change. So that
is not a thing that makes our heads explode. That makes our hearts burn bright and swell.
I was tearing up hearing a couple of these high schoolers from two different U.S. cities, two young women who really had their act together and threw back questions to the questioner about why they're doing what they're doing and why it was more important to be out in the street than in school, because the rest of the world needs to learn what they're trying to teach. It was very moving. And those same kids, albeit here in Chicago Public Schools, are still waiting for their nurses to show up. Another big story this week about CPS just not quite keeping up with what they're supposed to be doing to ensure basic safety. And they're madly trying to hire more nurses, but there were some cases where the same nurse was going to 30 different schools, or another nurse that had to go to 3 different schools in the same day.
Is this part of ROM's privatization alongside of the custodial care thing?
It's part of it is that there's a general nursing shortage, and I think the working
In
conditions...
the whole country?
Yeah.
Well, there is in the country, and I
Yeah.
think the particular working conditions of school nurses who have to deal with a lot of chronic illnesses, not just a cold that someone got when they came to school, it's not as desirable a place given the pay structure. So they've been scrambling to try to fill vacancies. There are a lot of vacancies, and I don't know what the cause beyond the general shortage that might be for.
Moving on, City Council met this week and passed Lincoln Yard's corporate welfare scheme to develop gazillion acreage on the river where Fink's Steel Academy used to be. Steel Academy. Steel outfit.
It was an academy for jobs.
It was that.
It was
that's
great to go
such
watch
a
the
save,
burning
Thom, thank you.
flames in that you
Yeah.
go over there at night when you
See
were
the
coming home
smelters.
from a bar and watch these guys working away in the fire and stuff. It was cool.
Well,
long
no.
gone.
Yeah, and the other thing they passed was the Cop Academy with 8 no votes, including that of Harry Osterman, who we'll have on when we didn't have him last week, but we'll have him on and ask him about that.
So this parking meter 2.0, as I've been trying to label it, got 14 no votes, the Lincoln Yards thing. And that's a significant total. Not that we'll hold on to that 14 as kind of a core progressive block, but maybe some of those aldermen are up in tough runoff elections, and they felt, obviously, they couldn't afford to vote for this thing
Right.
Before April 2nd.
But
So-
they counted the votes and they saw that they had what they needed, and they said, yes, Deb Mel, yes, Mr. Kappelman, you can vote no. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the way that goes, I think.
And both of those are in runoffs.
Yeah, that's what he said.
On the side of all this, the continuing story with families being separated at the border, a very reputable agency here in the Chicagoland area, Heartland Alliance, has been operating some of the homes that particularly youth are kept in while their legal status is being determined. Well, it was announced this week, in part because of a lot of public attention they've been getting, not all positive, that they're going to be closing 4 of these homes. And there's not much more news about the whys and wherefores. The home that's in Rogers Park is going to stay open. But they've been under increasing pressure to not accept more federal contracts to house youth detainees.
So on the immigrant front, the other outrage of the week is Dwight Village Board okaying the ICE detention center, as we were talking about earlier, making Dwight something of a detention capital in the state. There was a lot of opposition to it.
Oh, yeah.
But they passed it. Folks, we got to get our opposition counting for more.
When
That's all there
farmers
is.
can't grow enough ethanol soybeans, they have to turn to prison work, I guess, because this is something small-town Illinois desperately wants. Dwight already has a women's correctional center, and now they're going to get a detention center for folks whose legal status is up in the air. What's particularly sad about this is that it's 60, 70 miles from Chicago, and that's where most of the detainees are from. So once again, as families who have family members who are in downstate prisons, families have to travel a long way in order to connect with their friends who are being detained.
We've got canvasses happening in the city today for both of the mayoral candidates. We've got people trying but failing sometimes to remain civil as they disagree over these candidates. Early voting starts tomorrow. I encourage you not to vote until you've checked everything out, because things are in play. We've got 2 weeks from Tuesday till the end. Give it some time, folks. I know you're all thinking hard about it. The 40th Ward debate, March 18th, Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. at Amundsen High School. And we've got Girl Talk, the Women Running edition at Hideout Inn, featuring our new alderwoman, Maria Haddon, Susan Sedlowski Garza, and Ana Valencia. Okay, you are listening to Live from the Heartland on WLUW Chicago 88.7 FM and WLUW.org, archived at YouTube.com and Heartland Media. Come back to us and we'll have Marianne Lalonde.